What's going on, everybody? Welcome to your weekend astrology horoscope for the weekend of March 11th and the 12th of 2023. Astrologer Brian Scarborough here, Fixed Air Moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. Hope you're all doing outstanding. Hope you had a great week, and I hope you have a great weekend. Let's take a look at the astrology. Very interesting weekend in the astrology, and the big reason for that is it's Jupiter and Chiron conjuncting this weekend. We've been talking a lot about this. I've been talking about a lot in my horoscopes on this channel. Very interesting conjunction. Last time they met was, I believe, 2009 in Aquarius. It was at 26 Aquarius. So very interesting to kind of go back and see where things have transgressed since then. But, you know, it brings up, of course, this story, right? Like Chiron and Zeus have an interesting lineage together. Zeus, Jupiter, of course, was the god of all the gods. Chiron was a centaur known for his knowledge, wisdom. He was a good, warrior at the same token, too. He trained Hercules, all these greats. Of course, he had his own wounded nature to him, but it really was this story that, became the wound. I mean, he had a lot of wounds, but this was the big one. And the big one had to do with Prometheus, right? So Prometheus was the factor that joined these two together in such a big moment in Greek mythology. And it was Prometheus who stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity to serve humanity, but Zeus didn't want that to happen, so Zeus sentenced him to an eternal payout for that, which was chaining him to a rock, and an eagle was sent down, which was the symbol of Zeus, to eat his liver every day, and then Prometheus would grow a new liver for the next day, and a eagle would swoop down and eat it again. So eternal pain and suffering, and he was a god, so he couldn't die. So pretty savage of Zeus, which is Jupiter. Interesting, right? The great benefic is Zeus, and he did a lot of questionable things where Prometheus was actually helping humanity greatly by giving them fire and knowledge, right? Prometheus is actually very linked with Aquarius. Kind of funny how that works, and they did meet in Aquarius last time. But Chiron comes along. Hercules was going to give his life. Hercules was like, we got to do something about Prometheus. He doesn't deserve this. Hercules was going to give up his life and take place, with Prometheus. Well, Chiron heard about that, and Chiron said, no. I've already been shot by your arrow, Hercules, which was poisoned. That whole story. I am in eternal pain. I would rather go give up my godliness, my God status, to not be in pain for eternal life, and to take that place and die. So Chiron did swap places with Prometheus, freed Prometheus from this eternal suffering, so that he could also end his eternal suffering at the same time. So when you think about these two coming together, of course, there's a lot to it. Jupiter's beliefs, Chiron is our wounds, but also how we transcend wounds, how we take the rainbow bridge to the other side and find liberation through our wounds and the great wisdom and knowledge that possesses. This does have that sacrificial energy that we get this weekend, because we have to do something. It's almost like we have to let our old egos die with Aries here and really embrace this new one that will give selflessly for something that empowers, something that is helping, something that's doing something for the bigger, better, more, powerful picture, especially in Aries, of like what's kicking off in our lives. So the ability to let our ego wounds go and to really step into a positive belief about where things can go if we are more selfless. And of course, it's Pisces season. This does deal with the soul, deals with, extreme compassion. At the same time, kind of a dissolution of ego, right? 12th house Pisces. And also Sun Neptune are getting closer to this weekend. They're not going to conjunct till Tuesday, but very close this weekend. So we're starting to feel that build up. Also, Mars is starting to square very strongly, applying that third and final square over to Neptune, with the Sun applying the square over to Mars. So we are at a major place right now, and like a battle within our egos, and we really gotta surrender. We gotta let things go, whether they're self-limiting beliefs or whether they're the belief that we have to live in eternal suffering. We have to mute that. And the moon here in Scorpio, especially meeting with the South Node coming off that, but it is trying to be in that place of gotta transform, gotta transmute energy. The more we hold on to these wounds that limit us, these beliefs that limit us, the more we're not doing a good service to humanity, the more we're not doing good service to ourselves, and how we can really free ourselves. Saturn is also in Pisces now, right? So we are trying to free ourselves from a lot of constraints that we put on ourselves, but we have to get through karmic contracts to do that. We have to let things go. And it's even with Lucifer. They make their conjunction. So Lucifer's now passing Saturn, and the more we hold on to things, the more we're going to self-undo. And it's going to be something that you believe so strongly within yourself that isn't in some way, shape, or form healing. It's some kind of a identity wound about, I have to do this because of this, but it doesn't necessarily have like a soul calling to it. So we all have to kind of look at what that is in our own personal lives. And, Mars square Neptune, it's another one where our ego's getting, purified by Neptune right now, but that's not fun, and it can feel self-debilitating, especially mentally when we're trying to understand situations or have conversation, or just in our own mind right now. There can be a really weird war that almost can't be won unless we let go. Like the more we push and strive right now and kind of try to conquer something, it's almost like this inflated, wounded ego that's trying to, overcome, but not through a selfless act. It's like the selfless acts in some way, shape, or form are shaping our ego and molding our beliefs into a place that is actually more powerful moving forward with where maybe the collective's going, instead of just playing the same old over and over again and expecting a different result. We actually have to surrender, let go, wash away the things that are not giving us the results we want. That in itself is major confusion. And the moon's going to oppose Uranus on Saturday, not really helping. And Mercury's also in its sextile to Uranus. So it's funny because the mind is trying to go into this, way forward thinking place. And I brought up Prometheus. I feel like there's a lot of Prometheus energy right now where we are trying to move forward. We are trying to go into this higher consciousness to bring more knowledge, more awareness to our values, our physical existence, our mergers, our bonds, our passions. But at the same time, they have to be for the greater good in some way, and maybe not just a selfish manner. It's almost like passion has to be linked with what it's doing for someone else, instead of passion just for one's own gain, which is a weird position to be in, and we have to figure out how that is somehow playing out in our lives, because it might not be like that. But you have to use that analogy in your own life to see how, maybe you're trying to do something that's overpowering and manipulative, and maybe you're not even aware of it, because the 12th house and all this Pisces is, again, it's in our subconscious. It's loops that we run over and over again that we may not be aware of. So we really want to tune into our soul, these deeper meaning. We're going to feel everything so intensely and deeply today, but the moon will also make a great aspect over to Mercury while it's sextile Uranus in that opposition. So there is something about these, really good aspects to Mercury, which is at fall position in Pisces, that is not so much about the linear way of understanding maybe these deeper aspects, or how to, what we're merging with or what we're surrendering to, but there's a different way to look at things or express things. And maybe we're getting the download of what that is, but it's probably not the linear way that you would expect, or almost like trying to overpower things because of an expectation or a belief of how something so singular has to look. So very interesting day, but a very purifying day is Saturday. But it does bring this intense energy mixed into it. It's interesting. We'll have to definitely sit with it in our own lives and kind of see where we're putting way too big of a belief or expectation on a situation that was never divinely orchestrated, but we had this vision, this belief that it was always going to be a certain way, and we're still trying so hard to make it a certain way, but really it's like something kind of comes along out of nowhere and presents you with an option to take another route or to give up that thing that you want to hold on to so desperately, that could have to do with emotions or trauma in our life that we got to purify, let go of, so that we can get into a more abundant, filled sense of identity and ego that can, I think, be very, very helpful as we go into this 12th house Saturn collectively and get ready for what's to come. Which is, of course, Pluto in Aquarius, Neptune in Aries, and Uranus in Gemini. These are big outer planet shifts going from water and earth to air and fire. So it's going from feminine to masculine. So it's going to ramp up the energy a lot. And if we think that it's already been ramped up, I don't know if, I mean, we probably don't even understand energetically yet where things are going to go. I know I don't. I'll be honest, I don't know. I have assumptions, but I can't look ahead in the future and see what that's going to be like. Unfortunately, I wish I could, or I would love to tell you, but I'm going to be completely honest. So Sunday, we're going to see that sun from 21 come to 22 degrees, 2 degrees away from Neptune. And also, we're seeing this square ramp up between Mars and Neptune. Now, this is very interesting because we're going to see the moon come into Sag and make a huge T-square to that sun and Neptune when they conjunct. So, kind of feeling that build up, but we're also in moon in Scorpio still, and it's making really good aspects with a trine over to, again, kind of with Mercury here, but then over to the sun, over to Neptune, as it finishes up in Scorpio on Sunday, which, I mean, we can, again, try to hold on so tightly, but there's something about really, I mean, this is very psychic energy. If we're going to get trapped in this Mars and Gemini and try to get so just, this is the truth, this is how things are supposed to be, this is, how information looks, or how, we've always identified ourself even in our minds, it's got to go through this cleansing moment here, which is very strange. But we're also seeing Venus at 24 degrees sextile Mars exactly now, and we are going to see a yod from Venus-Mars to the moon in Scorpio. So there's definitely like something about like this moon in Scorpio, which already brings an added level of intensity and depth. But, it's these emotional attachments that we have to things that are outside of our control that we want to try and somehow swindle or manipulate. We have to learn to let things slide, let things go. And sometimes that might take this selfless act of service in some way, shape, or form. That's kind of this weekend, because we are going to see Jupiter again past Chiron Saturday night into Sunday morning, which is, lighting up a huge new Chiron Jupiter cycle. They won't meet again for 14 years. 13 and a half years, because Chiron's slow in Aries and Taurus. So it might even be like 13, not 13 and a half. I haven't looked ahead, but they will meet in Taurus, I can tell you that much. So, yeah, we're all trying to figure out this new identity, but we have to come to this place of healing, and that comes through surrendering, and that comes through letting things go. And the easier we can release and let go of things, which hopefully Saturn in Aquarius could have taught us, non-attachment to some societal outcome or to people or to what others are doing, is so important. It's the only way to keep your sanity right now. It's the only way to stay spiritually connected. Otherwise, we're just in, these traps, these loops that are just built around some kind of a sense of your identity is better than or less than somebody else's identity, which is not true. So we got to use this to really find power in ourselves and in our identity, and this deep sense of self-worth, this deep sense of spiritual knowing, just also, mental knowing, intellectual knowing, that we're here to find our own empowerment through letting go of other ideals and expectations and beliefs that are not our own, because they're actually the ones that are wounding us the most. And then on top of that, we have to look at where our own beliefs and identifications in this life are the things that we're desperately holding on to because we don't actually want to see the truth. We really want to keep the blinders on or the rose-colored glasses on, and we do not want to really face the music at some stage of our life. And this is a great call this weekend to face the music. If you can take the blinders off, if you can face the music, your spiritual purification and the healing will be so profound that you'll see where the story of your next journey is going to take you into realms of self-empowerment, of self-commitment, but also the realm of trust, the realm of really knowing how to let certain aspects play out around you without feeling a sense of insecurity that is somehow directed or based upon what the exterior is doing. And I think that's a good, message to think about. And the moon will finish up in Scorpio, I do believe. What degree? Yeah, it'll finish up in Scorpio on this Sunday evening. And it will make a nice sextile over to Pluto. But is it nice, or is it just kind of like really seeing the peak of the mountain, and that we've already reached this chapter in our lives, and that it's not so much about trying to make more mountain. We've already reached the top, but it's almost like we're looking for more, like there's more to achieve, there's more to, have this sort of conquest in something that is already dissolving in front of our eyes. And it's actually time to descend now back into our own depths, our own self, to go to the next stage and to come out with more spiritual abundance and more consciousness and less, unconscious. Consciousness can be getting, a huge amplification. We can really be starting to see a bigger picture in our lives, a bigger story, a bigger meaning. But the only way to get to that point is to let go of all the stuff that doesn't have the purpose, that we put so much mental power towards, that just leave us scratching our head in the end anyways. And then wondering why we don't know, or why it's this way, why the universe did this, why would this person do this to me, why? Instead of accepting that everything's happening exactly as it should, so that you can come to these moments of consciousness and realize it's time to take your power back in your hands and identify the next leg of your story. Even if the leg is down a mountain, you still want to find the tactical way down the mountain to get to the next. I hope that's helpful for you all. I appreciate and love you all very much. Let's see what the cards have to say. Got the Five of Swords upright. This reminds me of like a little bit of like selfish energy, kind of like, people are walking away unhappy, but this guy's kind of got that smug look on his face, kind of like, I got one over. It's weird because it deals with mental conflict too, but it's almost like this is not really right what we're looking for in our life. We don't want to be sitting there with some smug identity or attachment to an ego that's, repelling people away. Like we're trying to come to a place of a better understanding of self that is probably trying to attract more good things in. So I guess, there could be some sharp words this weekend we got to watch out for, because are they coming from the soul? Are they coming from, a caring place, an empathetic place? Are they just coming from a mind that has had enough and it's willing to make itself feel better by putting other people down or, attacking other people? The Devil card reversed. Well, that tells me that we're ready to change these ways that we might think. Maybe come into a more compassionate way of thinking, so that we're not trying to just, put energy down. And I don't necessarily think that people watching this are in that space, but, it is what it is with these cards. So I think that if anybody is in that place, this is a time to really, unbind the chains and the shackles to, some kind of a way that you believe that's how interaction needs to go, so that you can feel strong, or something. It's not like that. There's way more tactful, way more just spiritually mature ways to handle situations that still give you a boundary, that still lay down, a firmness of what you need and what you want, but in a way that isn't just, absolutely crushing to others or even yourself, right? Because this could be like self-dialogue to where we're doing this to ourselves too. So consider that as well. And the World card. Yeah, I feel like this really is a completion moment that is taking us to a much higher version of ourselves, taking us into, of course, like the fixed energy, which is Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, Scorpio. There's something about that fixed energy that makes us so human, makes us so raw, so real, so ethereal, so deep. And we're at a stage of transmutation to realize that chapters have been turned, pages have been turned. There's so much that's in transmutation right now because that cycle ended and a new one's beginning, and a lot of new cycles are beginning. So we have to be okay with reaching completion points and starting fresh, and not letting, certain aspects of our wounds that we want to identify so deeply and so strongly with be some kind of a guiding light. They're not. They're just guiding us into more entrapment and, negative ways of dealing with our outside surroundings. So come to the completion place. Realize that you graduated and it's time to start the journey over because you've unchained yourself. That's a beautiful place to be in. So I hope that for everybody here, and wishing you a great, great weekend. I'll see you all on Monday. Much love. Peace.